Okay, so here we got part 2, some more IB questions. So, as usual, give it a go by yourself and then I'll explain. So, which category of organisms is correctly described by its method of nutrition and site of digestion? So, method of nutrition means how they eat. It's their way of eating, because nutrition means consuming food. So, it's the way that they consume food. And site of digestion is where they break down the food. So for example, in humans, our site of digestion is where? It's inside our body, right? It's in our digestive system, which is internal, inside our body. It's probably hard for you to think of any organisms that don't do it inside their bodies, right? Like it seems like most organisms, like a lion, a tiger, almost any organism, it seems like they do it inside their body, right? But there are some organisms that actually don't even digest their food inside their body. It's actually outside. So we'll get to that. So we'll go through option by option and eliminate what's wrong and right. Okay, so category of organisms, consumer. Okay, so let's see if their method of nutrition and site of digestion match a consumer. So a consumer is something that eats something. So humans were consumers. Now, is this correct? Is a consumer heterotrophic? Yes, because heterotrophic is an organism that eats something else. Remember, an autotroph is an organism that makes their own food, like plants. Consumers don't make their own food. They eat other organisms. So they're heterotrophic. Heterotrophic means eating something else. That's what it means if we translate it directly. And do we break our stuff down inside our body? Yes, we do internal digestion. So far, A seems correct. Let's see if we can break down why the other ones are wrong. It's super important to also eliminate the rest, because maybe there's some kind of trick in the question sometimes that you don't see immediately. So, saprotrophs. Saprotrophs are, by the way, there are only two kinds of things that are saprotrophs. It's a mushroom and bacteria. So a mushroom is a saprotroph and a bacteria. They're the only two things that you should know for the IB that is a saprotroph. What is their method of nutrition? Autotrophic? No. Saprotrophs eat other stuff. They don't make their own food. The only things that make their own food are plants. So any autotroph is a plant. So therefore this can't be a autotroph. They're heterotrophs. They eat other things. Is their site? So this one's definitely wrong so far, because this shouldn't be autotrophic. Is their site of digestion external? Yes. This is one of the organisms that you have to know. They digest their food outside. You can see these little white things on top. These look like little umbrella-like things. When food falls onto the mushrooms, the mushroom will release like little things onto its umbrella-like thing that will break down the food on the outside. So they don't have a mouth or anything, right? So they can't eat the food and break it down inside. When the food, dead material, lands on top of it, so when you die, for example, you will fall on the floor, right? If there's a mushroom there, it will release enzymes and things that will break you down on the outside of its body. And then it will absorb your nutrients. So it will break you down on the outside and then absorb all the nutrients that it got from you into itself. So this is one of the only things that does external digestion. You need to remember this. Okay, so B is incorrect because of this one. How about C? A producer. So a producer is anything that makes its own food. So a plant. Are plants autotrophic? Yes, they make their own food. Autotrophic means self-feeding. They feed themselves. They make their own food. And site of digestion, internal. Well, they don't really digest, right? They would do external digestion because they absorb light from the outside and they use sunlight from the outside, right? But they don't really eat anything. So therefore, they don't even really do digestion. So therefore, this one would be incorrect because they don't do internal digestion. They do external digestion. They don't have a mouth. You can think of it, anything that doesn't really have a mouth will do external digestion because they can't consume it by eating it. Okay, last one here, Tetravore. So a Tetravore is similar to a saprotroph, but they have mouths. So a saprotroph is like a mushroom, doesn't have mouth. It breaks down dead things. Same with a little worm, an earthworm, for example. There are many types of Tetravores, but this is one type, an earthworm. They will eat things, but they have a mouth, right? So that's basically the only difference. So a Tetravore is heterotrophic. Yes, that's true. They eat other things. And do they do external digestion? No, they have a mouth. They eat it and digest it inside their bodies. They are not like mushrooms. Mushrooms digest it outside. Earthworms will digest it inside. So this is why A is correct. So let's move on to the next one. Hummingbirds eat flower, nectar, and small insects. To which nutritional group do they belong? So give it a go. So yeah, hummingbirds, we know in the name it's a bird. Most birds eat flower nectar and could eat small insects. This is kind of something that you could know already without the question itself, but that doesn't matter. To which nutritional group do they belong? So remember, a nutritional group is like how they organize species into how they consume stuff, or how they make their own food, how they get their food inside them. So A, autotroph. Remember, autotroph is only for plants, and we know a bird is not a plant. So a bird can't make its own food. It needs to eat something else for its food. So therefore it cannot be an autotroph. An autotroph is only a plant. Can it be a consumer? Yes, absolutely. It consumes, literally it says right here, it eats flower nectar and small insects. So it's eating stuff. So therefore it's definitely a consumer, like a human. It eats other things. Is it a tetravore? No. Tetravores eat dead things. This hummingbird went to eat a living insect. It ate it directly. A tetravore and a saprotroph, both of these eat dead organic matter, dead things, things that die, such as a mushroom or an earthworm. Or there are many kinds of and little bacteria and things like that, but there are many kinds of tetravores. You can Google it and see there's like those worms with like 1,000 legs. Those are also, I forgot the name, I think a centipede. Those are also tetravores. There are many kinds. It'd be good to look them up so you're aware what tetravores are. So it's definitely not one of these, because these eat dead things, and a bird, they eat dead things and recycle them, whereas a bird literally just goes and eats living things, right? Therefore the answer is B. So let's go to one more. Okay, the three-toed sloth, Bradypus variegatus, lives in treetops where it feeds on leaves. It also feeds on algae, and fungi, which live in its fur. So let's check the options. So again, this is a pretty similar question as the one we just saw here. They ask about the type of nutritional group they belong to. So in which trophic group should the three-toed sloth be classified? So again, trophic groups, if you don't know, is basically, trophic means feeding. So in which feeding group does it belong? So just another way of saying nutritional group, because nutritional means to feed, like feeding, what you eat. So trophic is just another way of saying that. So they're trying to switch up the words, trying to confuse you. So, could it be an autotroph? Again, no, it's not a plant. Plants are autotrophs. Plants make their own food, not a sloth. Is it a consumer? Absolutely. It eats, what does it say? It eats leaves? Yes, so it definitely consumes leaves. Also algae and fungi. So it eats things, so it's definitely a consumer. It's not a tetravore, because like I said, a tetravore is a worm, it's like an earthworm, centipede, any of those things that eat dead things that died. Same with a saprotroph. A saprotroph is like a mushroom that eats dead things as well. And remember, the only difference between these two is that one of the only differences is that the tetravore will eat with internal digestion. They will eat with its mouth and digest the food inside, whereas a saprotroph, like a mushroom, will digest the food on the outside and then absorb the nutrients inside its body. So that's their main difference. So let's write here. This is consumer. Hopefully you're finding these quite nice. If you don't really understand any of these words and stuff, make sure to watch the teaching videos that I did. I made many, and it's quite specific and detailed. So after watching them, you should understand everything that you need to know. So probably I'll make a part 3 soon, and I hope this is useful.